Welcome everybody to the OpenNebula roadmap session. My name is Rubén Montero and I'm the CTO for OpenNebula.
Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Tino Vázquez and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of OpenNebula.
Okay, in this session we are going to walk you through the latest developments in the OpenNebula project, and also we are going to look into the future of the project at the technical level. So the last years has been difficult for everybody, but we managed to deliver a bunch of releases to our community and users. In particular, we made 4 major releases with exciting new features, and also 8 patch releases for our community users with bug fixes, and 17 maintainer releases for the enterprise customers of OpenNebula. During these last years, we have also settled down in committing to a 2-year release cycle. We are from this year we releasing major release in April and October, and in between we will be making again patch and maintainer releases. In terms of new features, we have structured this the presentation according to different areas. Regarding management and multi-tenancy, we try to provide the most complete and well-defined interface to operate your cloud. So since release 5.12, we've greatly improved the monitoring system. We added a new system to improve the scalability of the monitoring system, so we are able to deal with more hosts and deal with more VMs and deal with bigger infrastructures overall. We also added some new features to better integrate with your cloud. We added hooks and events for image states, and a big change has been made in the networking area. Networks now have states where you can hook and you can trigger integration points with your infrastructure and networking components. Looking towards 7.0, one of the big changes we are planning is the addition of a gRPC API interface for OpenNebula. This we are going to expect that this change is going to really improve the scalability of our API server, as well as providing a modern interface for OpenNebula. One of the big changes that we are also looking into is to integrate the virtual routers, the BNF of OpenNebula, tightly with all the software stack, in particular with the interfaces and the rest of components of OpenNebula. If we look into the infrastructure in this area, we've been trying to provide the best and more feature-complete integration with underlying technologies, being those for storage, networking, or hypervisors. So since 5.12, we've witnessed a lot of changes in OpenNebula, especially with the addition of new hypervisors like Firecracker. Firecracker is a BMM, lightweight BMM in charge of creating micro VMs, and which are really well suited for function as a service workloads or for the edge deployments. We also made a big effort in improving the vCenter networking stack with the integration on NXXT and NXB for the VMware-based clouds. Also, we have made the transition from LXD to the LXC for creating LXC-based containers, which will simplify and reduce the requirements for our open source based clouds. And also we made a couple of improvements in KVM. For example, we made the migration to the support for cgroups version 2. We added support for NVIDIA based cards or GPUs for SREOV, and several other enhancements in the KVM hypervisor. Looking to 7.0, we really like to improve the addition of the backup interface that we made in 6.2 with the new incremental backups and block tracking changes for Cookout 2 based disks. And also we want to streamline the data store interface with a more flexible combination of drivers, so you can easily set up your storage in your clouds. Another big area of improvements in OpenNebula has been the automatic provision. Automatic provision is a brand new component from 6.0, where we redefine all these provision. The goal is to provide our users with a really easy and automatic way to integrate clusters in a running cloud, being those clusters in on premises or in a cloud provider. This component effectively orchestrates Terraform for the provision part, Ansible for the configuration part, and OpenNebula for the orchestration of the workloads. So in these 4 releases, we added these Terraform drivers. We streamlined and improved the Ansible playbooks for all these clusters. We provided an edge cluster definition to automatically integrate with an OpenNebula installation. And in the last release, we developed a hyper-convergent definition of these clusters based on Ceph. So you can easily create a Ceph-based cluster everywhere, either on premise or in the cloud. Looking to 7.0, we want to tight integrate this automatic provision that we think is going to be really helpful for you all into our graphical user interfaces. And also we are looking into adding some cost and latency considerations when the clusters are going to be provisioned in the cloud. So.
Okay, thank you, Rubén. So continuing with this roadmap review, using different areas of the software, we are going to focus now on the new features in OpenNebula for running workloads or for running applications, being that VM-based applications or even container-based applications. Okay, so from 5.12, there was a major redesign of the OneFlow component. So OneFlow is a component that enables the management of multi-VM services in OpenNebula as a single entity with elasticity rules that can be set for different roles of this multi-VM application. And in 5.12, OneFlow, it's moved to an event-driven approach instead of a poll-driven one. And this has increased the state transitioning of the different virtual machines by an order of magnitude, which is a great speed up. We also added scheduled actions for services as a whole, so you can programmatically have a whole service to be terminated or snapshotted periodically or a particular point in time. We also added new operations to treat, for instance, to clone whole services as a whole with all the VMs and disks involved in that process. And we also added integration with the Docker Hub Marketplace, aiming to being able to provide a mean to automatically run Dockers within micro VMs running on Firecracker. That's the most common use case. Okay, moving to 7.0, we crafted a new Kubernetes appliance for OpenNebula, which is available in the public OpenNebula marketplace. So it's available for anyone running an OpenNebula cloud, and that's CNCF certified Kubernetes distribution. There's been more work added in OneFlow with the ability to delete recursively all the resources from a particular service or service template. Also, we added support for these OneFlow services in the marketplace. So there's entry in the marketplace representing a whole service, a multi-VM service, like for instance, the Kubernetes appliance that has several roles. And there was a better management also of the OneFlow states following this redesign from 5.12. Okay, in 6.2, we focus our container-based approach on Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is the recommended way of running container-based workloads on top of OpenNebula. Okay, we also added a new lightweight, or well, a new appliance based on K3s, which is a lightweight Kubernetes that is suited to be run on the edge. And we also added some more functionality related to marketplaces, like the ability to have private Docker registries and to be able to enable and disable different marketplaces. 6.4, we focused on improving the Kubernetes appliance, adding multi-master configuration, also persistent storage, and load balancing, all out of the box from the Kubernetes appliance, which is now based on 1.23 Kubernetes. Okay, and also the ability to deploy whole services on hold. Okay, for 7.0, our plan is to keep improving the Kubernetes experience over OpenNebula. So we'll be adding customized tabs and functions into the Sandstone web interface to easily manage Kubernetes clusters. We also want to extend the OneGate functionality to be able to be used on the edge. So OneGate is a metadata server that can be used to share information between, for instance, different VMs participating in a multi-VM service. And also in terms of marketplace, we will be adding versioning of the different appliances, so it's easier to maintain different appliances and different versions. Okay, in terms of the web interfaces, to access the OpenNebula functionality from a browser and simple point-and-click interfaces, we have the main OpenNebula web interface, which is called Sandstone. In 5.12, we added a new functionality in Sandstone, which enables the better console access to virtual machines through Spice and also through RDP for Windows-based guest operating systems. Also, Sandstone allows you to strengthen the security of your user credentials by adding a second factor authentication and also based on web out. So you can use things like your YubiKey to access your OpenNebula account. Also, from 5.12, it's possible to add charters to virtual machines through Sandstone. So, for instance, a charter can define a lifetime of, for instance, 2 weeks for a particular VM. So users can use their VM for 2 weeks, and if they don't renew the charter, the VM will be automatically destroyed to prevent overuse of the OpenNebula resources. Okay, and some minor customizations in the interface are now possible. In 6.0, we introduced a new backend, which is called FireEdge, okay, which is a Node.js backend that it's intended to provide functionality to the Sandstone interface and also to provide new web interfaces on top of it. One example is the OneProvision graphical user interface that lets you extend the capabilities, or sorry, the capacity of your OpenNebula cloud using public cloud resources. Okay, this also allowed to introduce new functionality in the current Sandstone, like for instance, the ability to do VM-RC connections to vCenter virtual machines, also integration with Wacamole for better BNC, SSH, and RDP access to VMs. In 6.2, FireEdge added a new incarnation of the Sandstone interface in beta state. So the idea is to modernize Sandstone interface using React technologies. Okay, this will improve the user experience of the Sandstone interface with improved error feedback, and also in terms of one provision, the ability to dynamically load the providers. Okay, moving to 6.4, we added the WHCMS integration for billing in hosting environments based on OpenNebula. We also added a fully featured virtual machine and virtual machine template tabs to FireEdge Sandstone, which is now out of beta, albeit with limited functionality compared to the current Sandstone. So you can think of FireEdge Sandstone as a replacement of the functionality that Sandstone gives on CloudView. So it's suitable for end users, but not quite ready there yet for administrators. Also, speaking of current Sandstone, there's these auto-login URLs, which are quite useful for this WHCMS integration, and also filtering for providers in the one provision key. Okay, so plans for 7.0, it's to focus on the user experience, especially in the FireEdge Sandstone. We want to revamp some of the pain points that current Sandstone has. We will be focusing also on supporting edge use cases. And also there will be, it's planned to have a replacement of Sandstone for FireEdge Sandstone. That's what we are calling it, the big switch. Okay, so a bit outside of the OpenNebula feature set, it's this OpenNebula as a service concept. We are building Edgify, which is an elastic edge as a service. So it's really a cloud as a service. So you are not only able to increase the capacity of your local OpenNebula installation, but you can get a fully managed hosted OpenNebula control plane, which is ready to provision these clusters in a multi-cloud setup. Okay, at the moment, use cases available for Edgify are intended for demo environments and also training laboratories and proof of concept sandboxes. Okay, so what you get in Edgify is a fully managed front end as a AWS virtual instance, okay, which is already configured with SSL, different accounts, and it's ready to provision clusters on metal and virtual instances across different public and edge providers. Okay, we want to thank a special thanks to our sponsors in this year's edition, being Limbit and Storpool. We also want to help the different institutions and organizations that OpenNebula is participating in. And we especially want to thank the OneEdge project run by the European Union that allowed the adding these multi-cloud capabilities to OpenNebula in the last 3 years. Okay, so as you know, OpenNebula 6.4, it's freshly out of the oven. Okay, so there's a wealth of documentation if you want to start trying out this new functionality. There's the quick start guides that will guide you to easily install OpenNebula 6.4 and start trying all the features, including the multi-cloud capabilities. So feel free to scan that QR code that will take you directly to the download page. Thank you very much for attending and enjoy the rest of the conference.